Hi, Stephen from Owner Disown. Well, MSI have sent me the Prestige 15, a business class creator orientated laptop. Of course, it's a 15.6 inch model. So this is going to be my first look, unboxing. I'll do some benchmarks and gaming. I'll do some thermal tests so give you an idea how it performs. And I'll show you, the weight and that type of thing. It'll be followed by a full review where I'll concentrate on a bit more of the creativity aspect of it, some more gaming tests, and a bit more thermal analysis. So make sure to put in the comments below what you'd like me to test on this. So the specs of my unit is it's got a 6-core, 15-watt part. It's the i7 10710U CPU. So 6-core, 12 threads. It's also got the GTX 1650 Max-Q, 35-watt GPU. So I've already tested that in the C940, and it's more than capable. I've also got dual channel RAM, 16 gigabytes. That's 2 sticks of 8, and I've also got a 1TB NVMe SSD in here. It's got a 720p webcam, and it's got an 80-watt-hour battery plus 2 2-watt speakers. And Wi-Fi, it's got the Intel Wi-Fi 6 AX200, so that is pretty nice. So what we have here, we get the usual quick start guide, and yep, never stop being creative sticker, and it's pretty well nicely packaged. I mean, the box is nice, isn't it? It's nice and white. Before I show you the laptop though, you do get some other goodies in here. You get a dock. It's actually a nice dock. It connects by USB-C, and it's got 2 USB type A ports there, got a micro SD card reader, and it's also got a full SD card slot. That's quite nice, because of course the laptop doesn't have one, but I didn't realize this has got that there. It's got an Ethernet port at the back, and connect by micro USB, another cable to give it another type A port. So that's actually quite nice. And they throw in a nice little pouch, a carrying pouch there. It's like, it feels like velvet type thing, but that's really nice to take to a meeting. And it powers by USB-C, so it's got a 90-watt brick. Small little cable here coming from the wall to the brick, so bear that in mind. But still, this is quite long. It's about just over arm's length there together. And they do package it up quite nicely. And of course, it's got a nice, clean look, and I do like it. There are actually 6 models, 3 for the 14-inch and 3 for the 15-inch. Now the 14-inch starts at $1,200, and that gets you the i5 10210U, which is a 4-core, 8-thread part. And you can also get a white model in the 14-inch. Now the thing is with the 14-inch, you can of course get it to the GTX 1650 Max-Q GPU, but it only comes with a 50-watt-hour battery, so don't expect such a large runtime with it. But the 15-inch starts at $1,400 and goes all the way up to $1,800, depending on whether you want a full HD or a 4K panel, and also the amount of RAM. So let's have a further look at it. So the keyboard deck is also made of aluminium. It's the same carbon grey colour, very nice. And the trackpad is large. It's about 35% larger than before, and it's 30% more responsive. So they claim, and certainly indeed gestures work very well. Now it's made of glass, and it uses precision drivers, and you have an inbuilt fingerprint reader here. Now the keyboard also is pretty decent. It's got 1.5 millimeters of key travel, and what I like, the painting on the keycaps are very bright, easy to see, and it's nicely spaced. I do like that indeed. And you do have some functionality up here. Of course the screen goes all the way flat, and they call it ideal for presentation mode. If you're in a business meeting, pressing the F12 key will flip the screen round, so you can easily present to somebody across the desk from you. And pressing the F7 key changes the various power profiles. So the aluminum lid is anodized like a charcoal or carbon grey. It does throw a few fingerprint smudges, so you'll need to clean it off, but it does have a nice, subtle MSI emblem here on the lid. And you'll probably notice a very nice blue diamond cut edge here. It's a chamfer, and it reflects in that light very nicely. Key lighting, it's white, and it's very bright, probably brighter than most. And it has 3 levels of brightness, so like that, or off, but certainly very good. So you will notice that the air venting is towards the screen there. But, you know, if you want to use your laptop closed, perhaps to an external monitor, you know, the venting still blows out nicely there. So that should be good. On the left-hand side, we have two USB-C Thunderbolt 3 ports. That's great. And they both support power delivery up to 90 watts. We have an HDMI, good for 4K at 30 Hertz. And we have a combo headphone mic jack. And we have two small holes. One appears to be a reset hole, and one is the battery indicator. So on the right-hand side, we have a micro SD slot. Unfortunately, it's not a full-size SD slot, but it is a high-speed UHS 2, good up to 300 megabytes per second, and supports the U3 V90 standards. And we have two USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports. So on the right-hand side, we have the Lenovo C940, which is a quite nice, decent 1080p panel with 392 nits of brightness and about 94% of sRGB. But take it to the next level, we've got the MSI Prestige 15 there. You notice it's slightly smaller in footprint, which is nice. And of course, it's got a 4K panel, IPS, and it's got a lovely 99% of sRGB, and 95% of Adobe RGB, and 87% of the P3 color space, and a whopping 410 nits of brightness, and a contrast of 1050 to 1. Now, if you lower the brightness down to 75%, that's around about 317 nits or so. You know, that's pretty comparable to what most 1080p IPS panels are at 100% brightness. So it is indeed, it's very nice. Now it has a true pixel display with over 220 pixels per inch, and it is Calman verified. It's a lovely display. And as for backlight bleed, you know, there's hardly any at all. And its weight, looking at £3.13, that's pretty light. And with the power brick, £4.11. So here's the underside, and it's made of aluminium, and you've got quite a few Phillips head screws to remove. And you'll notice there's a factory seal here, so you'll need to break that to get to that last screw and take it off. Now the panel is very thin gauge to help make it lightweight, but it's not super stiff. And once you're inside, you have the 80 watt-hour battery. Now they tout that it's going to be, they say 16 hours of runtime, but I suspect less, more like perhaps like 10. But of course, I will test that in my review. Here are the speakers, nice loud speakers, they're good. Now you do have two M.2 slots, of course. One is occupied, but it's good that you've got extra storage options. Two RAM slots, and it's a maximum up to 64 gigabytes, so that is nice. The Intel Wi-Fi 6 AX200 card is here. Now here we've got the Comet Lake CPU and the 1650 Max-Q GPU here. You know, you'll notice there's actually three heat pipes, two fans, and a much smaller one here for the CPU. And I suspect when it's in perhaps comfort or quiet mode, you know, perhaps this fan just spins up. But anyway, by all accounts, it's, you know, in silent mode, we're expecting under 30 decibels of noise, so perfect for an office environment. So the Prestige 15 is more creator oriented, hence it's got the Creator Center versus the Dragon Center software. And this then allows you to fine tune your creative software, like here Audio Director, or you've got Magix, that type of thing, choosing how many threads you want to work on the project, optimize for the GPU performance and so forth. So that's pretty nice to have that capability. Of course, you've got the option to looking at the percentage of the CPU, memory usage, that type of thing, fan speeds, as well as altering what type of color you want on the screen, how you want it, sRGB or Adobe RGB, and also the dynamic sound, whether to have it for music or gaming, that type of thing. Alter the switch between the FN and the Windows key location, disable or enable the webcam, as well as choose one of 4 different power profiles. We can also, of course, you can alter the performance here within Sport, Comfort and Eco. And you also have good options for the fans. You can have it auto, you can have it as basic, or you can have it as cooler boost to max that out. So let's take a look at CPU performance running Cinebench R20. And first up, I've got the Comfort balance mode going here. So the CPU clock rate is around about 1800 megahertz, so it's fairly low. Consequently, the temperatures are pretty good, and running about 62 degrees, even with a high of 72. And looking at the power usages, we've got to notice that the PL1 is 45 watts and 64 watts for the PL2, and is running at a stable 15 watts. So really, if you're wanting to do CPU work, this isn't the ideal way to go. It's not going to be the fastest. So let's have a look at sport mode, high performance. So now under high performance mode, yeah, and this is using max fan. So we got 3,300 megahertz as the boost clock. So it's boosting very nicely, but the temperatures are still high. This is even with the max fan in place. So 95 degrees there. And if we look at the watts, it's holding a steady 45 watts. That is pretty good, isn't it, for just a 15 watt TDP chip? So not bad at all. Now looking at the data in a graph, the Prestige 15 in comfort mode only scored 1262 points. Now that was even less than the 4-core 9308. So yeah, 2 extra cores, the lower clock speed, it gave lower performance. So I suggest if you're doing any CPU intensive work, you opt for the sport mode, which scored 2266, and is not far behind than the 9758, because as we saw, it was running about 45 watts, but it's going to take some cooling. So let's look at some gaming. I'm going to do Far Cry 5, and first off I'm going to start off using balance profile, the sport performance mode, and the max fan. And if you look at the MSI Afterburner overlay, you'll notice it actually doesn't capture the wattages of the CPU and the GPU. So I'm having to use HW Info to pick that up. Now at the bottom you'll see 2 wattages. The left one is for the CPU and the right hand side one is for the GPU. And initially it runs pretty hot. You know, it's like 42 watts is the CPU initially, and consequently it gets pretty hot. You know, maintains around about 95, 97 degrees Celsius, but it will drop down to around about 25 watts and hold there quite steady. And at that point, the temperatures are okay. So it cools 25 watts fine in a gaming situation. And the GPU is running cool at about 66 degrees and 98% of utilization. So switching to comfort mode and using the auto fan, which will be much quieter, let's test this out. Now initially the CPU runs around about 21 watts and about 71 degrees Celsius. That's not too bad at all. And as you play further, the CPU watts will drop down to around about 15 watts. But saying that, the performance is the same. You don't lose any frames, and the temperatures are great. So I recommend for gaming, use the comfort mode. So let's see how it stacks up against the Yoga C940 in gaming with the Far Cry 5. And of course the 940's got the 6-core 9758 45 watt part, but it uses the same 1650 Max-Q GPU. And in the orange is the Yoga, and in blue is the Prestige 15. There's about an 18% differential here. And of course this is one single game, and I will be doing a separate video showing different games, comparing these two systems. So make sure you subscribe to see that. So what's it like in a multiplayer game? So I actually fire up Battlefield 5 using medium settings, and I'm using the comfort mode with the auto fan. So it's a nice quiet system playing like this, but consequently, as you'll see, the CPU there, I've got actually chosen the first 3 cores. Shows you the clock rate. It's about 2 gigahertz. So it's not boosting up much, but the frame rate is still fine. 49, 45 FPS. So it works pretty well, and the temperatures are great. 74 degrees on the CPU and 70 degrees on the GPU. There you go. I hope you found those tests useful. Now, what did I actually think of it? I like it. I could see me perhaps having one of these laptops because, I'm a business traveler, and I travel quite a lot and do presentations to customers. And I did like the option where, you can flip the screen, flip and share if you're doing a presentation. I think that's pretty handy. The keyboard, I liked it. I like the bright lighting. I like the clear marking on the keys. The trackpad responsive, it was very good. Fingerprint reader was good as well. Ports wise, I'd certainly find I'd like the dongle, the extra expandability there. Battery life looks would be good, and of course I'll test that in my review. But they say 16 hours. You should be able to get 10, I suspect. So it's going to be pretty decent. Thermals, well, it's good that you got the creative software there. You got a lot of options. I recommend on the gaming to run on the comfort mode, because you don't lose that much in the way of frame rate at all, and the thermals are pretty good. And if you want to do CPU crunching work, switch it to sport mode, max out the fans. It's going to get hot, but it holds a nice boost clock there, so that's nice. Anyway, remember, comments below what you'd like me to do in my full review, and remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.